The next talk is something that I will give, just for the record. My name is Moshe Goldberg. I have degrees in chemical engineering from Cooper Union in New York, from MIT in Boston, and from the Technion in Haifa, Israel. My wife and I have been living for almost 50 years in Haifa. All of our kids and grandchildren and our great-granddaughter are living all around Israel. I have been learning from Rav Sharkey and studying with him for at least 20 years, and I am very honored to be on the staff of Brit Olam and to work with Rav Sharkey. The topic that I want to talk about is the unique mission, the unique role that everybody in the world was created for, and that everybody in the world can play. And let's talk about that for a while. But I want to start not with everybody's unique mission, but with a rhyme. I don't know if it's a children's rhyme or exactly where it's heard, but many people know this rhyme. It's a rhyme that we certainly have heard before. For want of a nail, the shoe was lost. For want of a shoe, the horse was lost. For want of a horse, the rider was lost. For want of a rider, the battle was lost. For want of a battle, the kingdom was lost. And all for the want of a horseshoe nail. I assume everybody has heard this before. Where do you look something like this up? I looked in Google. I found out a little bit of information about it. Wikipedia, Google. This is a poem that has been put to song in Hebrew, in other languages also. If you think about it, the idea of this poem, the idea is what is called in physics chaos, or it's the butterfly effect. One single little nail had such a great effect. Historians seem to think that this might have been connected with Richard III, who is quoted in Shakespeare's play as saying, "A horse, my kingdom for a horse." Historically, it doesn't seem that he really had a problem with the horseshoe on his horse, but anyway, that's the way the thing has grown up. What's the idea of this poem? What's the idea? And it's something that we know and that we come across quite often. It can happen that a single little item that looks very unimportant is what has a great effect on what happens later on. One nail was missing, and it built up until an entire battle was lost. Actually, we come across the same idea in the book of Esther. We're talking about the fact that Purim is coming up next week. In the book of Esther, Mordechai tells Esther that Haman and the government have made an announcement that they want to destroy the Jews. And he tells Esther, go see the king, tell him that we have to save the Jews. And Esther has qualms about it. Esther says, it's dangerous. You're not allowed to go into the king's palace unless you've been invited. And nobody has invited me, she says, for the last 30 days. And what does Mordechai say to her? Mordechai says to her, Mi yodea im le'eit kazot higat lamalchut. How do we know? Maybe it's just because of this that you were put into the palace as the queen. This is the specific opportunity, the specific thing that you are meant to do, is to go and speak to the king and do something about the decree against the Jews. And we know in the end of the book of Esther and the Megillah, she does it and she does save the Jews. I won't go into that now. But the idea is exactly the same idea. There was one specific thing that Esther was meant to do. Small thing or a large thing, you can argue about that. Putting her life in danger and going into the palace when she wasn't invited is certainly something that is not a small item. But she had a specific mission. That's what Mordechai tells her. For want of a nail, the shoe was lost. And when the nail was there in the right place, when Esther did what she was supposed to do, she was able to save an entire nation. But the truth is, I want to talk about something similar, but it's not exactly the same idea. This is an idea that I have come across and that we see in many Jewish writings, and in a way it's an inverse of what I've been talking about so far. I've been talking about the butterfly effect, that something very small can build up into a very large effect. But in Judaism we come across an idea that, as I say, is an inverse of this and expands it much further. We can start with a quote from Rav Kook, Abraham Isaac Kook, the first chief rabbi of Israel. He analyzes or he discusses a prayer that we say on Yom Kippur. At the end of the Amidah, the Shemona Esrei on Yom Kippur, we say, Elokai, God, Ad shelo notzarti eini chadai, ve'achshav shenotzarti ki'ilu lo notzarti. We say, God, every person says, until I have been created, it was not worth it. I was not worthy. Eini kedai. But Rav Kook takes a look at this and he says, it doesn't mean until I was created, things weren't worthwhile. He says, Eini kedai, I was not meant to be created until a specific minute that I was created. There was no need for me until the moment that God created me. This is a very powerful idea. It's a very powerful thought. What it means is that every single person is created at the exact moment when the world needs him. Every single person has a specific mission that he's here to accomplish. It can be a world-shattering mission, like Moses, who took the children of Israel out of Egypt, like Esther, who did go into the king and did save the people, the Jews, in the Persian kingdom. And it can be a much smaller thing, like taking part in family life and doing good things on a personal level. But every single person has his own mission and his own thing that he has to accomplish. The same theme occurs in other writings by Rav Kook. For example, in a book that he wrote, Orot HaTorah, he writes, Hinei kol halomed Torah umotzi me'akoach el ha'po'al et metziyut chokhmata mitzad nafsho. Everybody who studies Torah, or everybody who studies wisdom and wise things, he is realizing a potential that he has within him. And Rav Kook says every single person alive has a different potential. Everybody has something for which he was created, something which he has to bring out from within himself. The Rav Kook in Orot HaTorah was talking about studying Torah, about having about maybe some innovation, some new way of looking at something in the Torah. It's interesting that we find exactly the same idea in other places in Judaism. The Sfat Emet, a Hasidic rabbi who lived about 100 or 150 years ago, in one of the places where he talks about people and what people are supposed to accomplish, he uses the same words. He says, the Sfat Emet says, "V'nimtza b'chol ish divrei Torah miyuchadim asher yachol lahotziam me'akoach el ha'po'al." The Sfat Emet says every single person has ideas within the Torah that he can realize the potential of those ideas, and only he can do that. He says the same words that Rav Kook says. Maybe they saw each other's writings. He says, "Lahotziam mikoach el ha'po'al," to realize the potential, and that's what Rav Kook said. He said, "Motzi me'akoach el ha'po'al." It's interesting that I found the same thing. I'm sure this can be found many, many places, but I found the same idea in the writings of Emmanuel Levinas. Emmanuel Levinas was a French Jewish philosopher, lived around the time of the Second World War, I think both before and after. He had quite an active life. He was the head of a school, and he did many things, but he was also well known as a philosopher. He wrote several books, and here's a quote from what he said. To talking about people in general. This is translated from the French, not that I did it, but found the translation. In their uniqueness, each one is capable of wresting meanings from the signs, each time inimitable. And here he says exactly the same thing that we've been talking about. It all happens, he says, as though the multiplicity of persons were the condition for the fullness of absolute truth. Emmanuel Levinas says there is such a thing as absolute truth, but it is made up of element by element, of many different elements that are brought together by many different people. Okay? Condition for the fullness of absolute truth, as though each person, through his uniqueness, ensured the revelation of a unique aspect of the truth, and that certain sides of it would never reveal themselves if certain people were missing from mankind. There is a totality or a total absolute truth that the world should be discovering, that the mission of the world, or the idea of the world, the object of the world, is to reach total truth. We do this through the Torah, we do this through our actions, we do this by acting in the right way. What Levinas says is that this total truth would not have been discovered. We will never reach total truth until every single person who is created in the world makes it his business to accomplish his role within the world, to accomplish the thing that he was created for at the moment that he was created. But all this leads up to might lead up to a question. Okay, I have a mission. What is my mission? How do I find what I'm supposed to do? There's a prominent rabbi here in Israel, Shlomo Aviner, who answers questions in weekly bulletins, answers questions in text messages, answers questions on the internet. But a few years ago, here's a question that he was given. He doesn't give a name, so I don't know exactly who asked this question. Ketzad yeda adam ma yi'udo alei adamot. Rav Shlomo Aviner has a question that he's answering. How will a person know exactly what his mission is here on this world? How can I know what I am supposed to do? And the answer that Rabbi Aviner gives, first of all, he starts with the same quote from Rav Kook that I quoted before, that every single person is created at the moment when the world needs him, not before and not afterwards. And Rabbi Aviner's answer to this question, I'm not sure that for me it fully answers the question, but he says every person is different in the makeup of the different things that he has done, in the way he is grown. Not one single person is the same as any other person in the makeup of all the things he or she has learned, in the makeup of the way he or she reacts to everything going on around them. And in that way, every person can fulfill this ideal of accomplishing his own unique mission just by being himself. So if you don't find a specific goal towards which you have to work, if you don't find a specific thing that you can accomplish, just be yourself, is what he says. He doesn't use exactly these words. He says, Ha'adam, in Hebrew, hu schum kol ma'asav le'orech kol yemei chayav, hu yitzur behitavot madmedet. Every person, every human being is the sum of everything that he has done until this moment. And the next day he will be adding another piece, which is not the same piece as anything that he did the days before. And then he says, Yitzur behitavot madmedet. Every single human being is a work in progress. We have to keep going on and doing what we think is the best, and that makes a unique person, and that unique person is the one who was meant to be created at the moment that I or that person was born. That's one possible answer. I think you can go a little further and say that our task, our job in this world, is not just to be satisfied by being ourselves the way we know it. It may well be that we have to continuously look for more things to do and for better things to do. Certainly people that we have met through Brit Olam, Noahites, who have decided that the way they started out their lives was not enough, and they want to take on more things. They take on the 7 commandments of the Bnei Noach. Some go even further. People like that who then publish and broadcast what they have done, tell other people about it, teach other people the way that they went, so that they can join them and again do other things, do unique things that no other people have done. They're doing more than just saying the sum total of my life is the way I was supposed to be. They're looking for specific missions and specific jobs. The first talk that we had here, Rabbi Hollander spoke about Wendell Jones. He, for example, didn't just leave things and say whatever I can accomplish I can do. He went out looking for greater missions and more important missions all the time. So that may be even more of what Rav Kook and the other rabbis are talking about when they talk about the fact that everybody is born at his or her own specific time and with his or her own specific mission. You have to keep looking to see what is the specific thing that you can do better than anybody else in helping to bring us to a better world and to improve the world. Okay, I see there's a question here. Could there be a unique mission for a Gentile to be a Noahide that would be not fulfilled if he converted? I think we have met, this is from Bob Wells. Bob, I think we have met people who specifically have said that they have thought about it. I don't want to give names now, but there are people in the Noahide movement whom we, my wife and I, whom we have asked, why didn't you go all the way? And they said no. I feel, they feel that they have a mission to accomplish that they can only do while they remain Gentiles, while they don't become Jews. Because as a Jew, you're distancing yourself from a lot of other people. You're telling them, I've gone further, you have to follow me all the way. And these people specifically have made a conscious decision that their mission in life is to stay a Noahide and not to become a Jew. And I think I can certainly appreciate that. There are certain people that that's the way they feel. Okay, anything else from somebody? Okay, that's what I wanted to say tonight. Very happy I had a chance to talk to you. You can write to our website with other questions and comments if you want to. I want to remind you that our next broadcast is exactly 4 weeks from tonight, Sunday, March 17th. We will be putting out announcements who will talk and what subjects will be covered. Thank you everybody for listening and for joining us. We'll see you in 4 weeks.